She took a knife to stab her husband and all 4 of her children in one day, claiming she was sending them to eternal salvation, then laughed at her only surviving daughter in court. These are the stories of 10 serial killers who laughed at their victims' families in court. Number 10. Michael Madison.
In October of 2001, Michael dragged an 18-year-old woman down the street in East Cleveland and behind a house where he attempted to rape her.
October 2001 in East Cleveland. Michael Madison forced a girl behind a house and tried raping her. Luckily, the cops drove into action and arrested him. He owned up to what he did and got slapped with a 4-year prison sentence. Now, while he was in prison, they made him get some treatment for his messed up ways. After he was released, Michael went right back to East Cleveland. But instead of doing what he was supposed to and register as an offender, he used his mom's address and got involved in some shady drug dealings. 2012, he had convinced a girl named Brittany Darby to move in with him. September 2012. A woman named Shatisha Sheely vanished. Everyone freaked out, especially when she missed her own brother's funeral. And it didn't stop there. The next year, 2 more women, Angela Deskins and Sherelle Terry, disappeared under sketchy circumstances. Not long after, Brittany, Michael's partner, started smelling something really nasty in their apartment. Michael played it off like it was just some raccoon problem. But little did she know that it was one of the missing women's dead bodies stashed nearby. July 19, 2013, the truth finally came to light. The neighbors followed that disgusting smell and found dead women's bodies hidden in garbage bags in the garage. And if that wasn't messed up, even more bodies were discovered around Michael's place in the same sick way. 2 of the victims had been strangled, but they couldn't figure out how the 3rd one died. The cops wasted no time in labeling Michael as the main suspect. During his interrogation, he even mentioned Anthony Sowell, the infamous Cleveland Strangler, like he was inspired by that sicko. 2016. Michael faced a series of charges, including murder, kidnapping, and abuse of corpse. His defense cited a troubled past, but the jury convicted him on all counts. He received a death sentence, which the Ohio Supreme Court upheld in 2020. During his trial, the father of one of the victims confronted Michael, displaying raw emotion, while Michael had a smile on his face.
Michael shows his lack of remorse by smirking the entire time Van is trying to attack him.
2019. Michael's mother, Diane, had a tragic end and was killed in her own home. Michael Madison's story shows how violent crimes deeply hurt families and leave lasting pain. Number 9. Isabelle Martinez.
Her bizarre court appearances made headlines as she proclaimed her innocence, telling the court she felt a devil-like spirit days before stabbing her family.
July 2017 in Gwinnett County, Georgia. Isabelle Martinez went after her husband, Martin Romero, and didn't stop attacking him until he couldn't breathe anymore, despite his pleas for mercy. Now, unfortunately, that nightmare didn't end there. Martinez then turned her twisted attention to her own kids, killing all 4 of them. But luckily, one of them survived, although she got hurt pretty badly. Super disturbingly, Diana later told investigators that her mom had told her that she was sending them to heaven to see Jesus. Now, this family had recently moved from Chicago to Gwinnett County, and people used to think that they were all really close and loving. But after Isabelle's father passed away, things went downhill fast. She became completely consumed by grief and started obsessing over the idea of joining him in the afterlife. Martin was really concerned about Isabelle, so he made sure that she was on antidepressants and even set up a chat with a priest. Turns out Isabelle had some serious paranoia about evil spirits coming after her. Her mental state just kept getting worse and worse. On that awful night, it was crystal clear that Isabelle was completely messed up in the head. After she did the unspeakable, she did this weird thing where she placed Bibles on top of her dead family members. Diana, the only one who made it out alive, gave the cops all the details, explaining how her mom suffocated the rest of her siblings before grabbing a knife. When all was said and done, Martinez didn't waste any time admitting what she did in court. But get this. She actually thought she was doing all this out of love and sending her family to eternal salvation. Throughout the trial, her actions and behavior just seemed totally out of touch with how serious her crimes were. She kept on laughing and smiling in court, even waving her hands.
Loopy a smile, gave the jury a thumbs up, and started moving as if she was praying.
Even after her arrest, Martinez's account changed. She first confessed to the crimes, but later blamed an unidentified family friend. 2018, the Gwinnett County District Attorney's Office cited Martinez's clear mental health issues as a reason not to pursue the death penalty. Friends reported that Isabelle had been deeply affected by her father's death, unable to attend his funeral in Mexico, and tormented by fears related to his practice of witchcraft. Isabelle Martinez was given 5 life sentences with the possibility of parole, plus an additional 21 years. Number 8. T.J. Lane.
Why?
Throughout their statements, Lane just smiled, and at one point even raised his middle finger to victims' families. And his statement to the court, just too vulgar to say.
February 27, 2012. Sheridan High School in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It was a normal Friday with students going about their normal activities, but not until a student named T.J. Lane walked in. Out of the blue, he walked over to a table where 4 of his friends were sitting and surprised everybody by showing a small .22 cal gun. Panic quickly spread as he started to unleash a deadly attack on his classmates, the same ones he used to know and play with. The aftermath was absolutely devastating. 3 lives were tragically lost: Demetrius Hewland, Daniel Parmenter, and Russell King Jr. Another student, Nick Walczak, was left paralyzed. Thankfully, Nate Mueller and Joy Rickers survived their injuries, but the emotional trauma hit the entire student body hard. Many students would seek therapy after to cope with this tragedy. Recognizing the urgent need for improved safety measures, the community came together to take action. Coach Frank Hall, who bravely confronted the student during the incident, became a key figure in this endeavor. He established the Coach Hall Foundation to strengthen school security and ensure that such a tragedy would never happen again. March 2013. The court found Lane guilty and sentenced him to 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. He tried to use his claims of hearing voices and past abuse as a defense. However, his behavior during the trial was deeply unsettling. He showed a complete lack of remorse, wearing a t-shirt that referenced his crime with the word "killer" boldly written on it. He openly mocked the seriousness of his actions and taunted the grieving families who were mourning their profound losses.
As soon as T.J. Lane walked in, he was executing his plan, taking off his button-down shirt to reveal this, a white t-shirt with the word "killer" scribbled on it.
September 11th, 2014. Lane and 2 of his buddies tried to make a run for it from the Allen Correctional Institution in Lima, Ohio. But guess what? Their getaway plans got crushed real quick. Lane got nabbed and thrown back into the slammer the very next day. To tighten up security, they promptly shipped all 3 dudes over to the Ohio State Penitentiary. You know, a place with tighter locks and stuff. Number 7. Tyrell Webster.
As the victim's family shared their pain, Tyrell Webster smirked. Routine questions before sentencing got responses like this.
Do that matter?
Yes, it does.
April 8th, 2012. Tyrell Webster killed Grover Cleveland Watson Jr. on a street in East Price Hill, but he was arrested in no time. Right before his first trial, Webster's lawyers bailed on him. Yeah, they just left him hanging. Because of that, the first trial didn't go anywhere. You know why? The people accusing Webster didn't cough up all the important info they had. Webster wanted a do-over, but they shut him down and didn't give him what he wanted. Then out of nowhere, Webster dropped a bombshell. He said it was actually his girlfriend, not him, who pulled the trigger on Grover. That just made the whole case get even more twisted. The judge, the public, everyone was scratching their heads, trying to figure out what the real deal was. As the trial continued, it became pretty clear Webster was the one to blame. He didn't show an ounce of sadness or regret for what he did. There was this one moment in the courtroom that stuck with many people. Webster ruined any chance of getting a lighter sentence. When the judge asked him some basic questions about his education, he shot back with, "Does that even matter?" and acted all impatient. Grover's sister, who can't see, wanted to express her emotions, but when she spoke up, Webster just laughed. When the judge questioned him about it, he shrugged it off, as if it didn't bother him. That really hurt Grover's sister on a profound level. Initially, she was willing to forgive him. However, after witnessing his attitude, she felt he deserved a life behind bars.
So you know he's laughing right now. I really don't care about this because you know what, you laughing now, but the moment they get you behind those prison walls for the rest of your life, you will be somebody's girlfriend, and that smile will no longer be on your face, it will be tears.
After a 2-week trial, the jury just took an hour to find Webster guilty of murder. In the end, the judge decided he should be in jail for 18 years. Number 6. Lori Vallow.
911, where is your emergency? You need police or paramedic?
Both. I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I
shot him in self-defense.
July 11, 2019. Things would take a crazy turn for Charles Vallow when he swung by Lori Vallow's place in Arizona to pick up their adopted son JJ and take him to school. It should have been a simple visit, but the couple got into this huge argument and things got intense. Ty Lee Ryan saw it all going down and grabbed a baseball bat to protect his stepdad. But before anything else could happen, Lori's brother Alex Cox stepped in and things got even worse. Charles got angry and hit Alex on the head with a big baseball bat during their fight. Alex went to his room, picked up his gun, and came back to shoot Charles. After this awful incident, Lori's behavior became really confusing. She dashed off with JJ, claiming she was just defending herself. But people noticed that something wasn't right. Investigators dug deeper into her life, her changing beliefs, and her new connection with Chad Daybell. 2018. Chad, a man known for his apocalyptic writing, entered Lori's life. They believed they were married in a past life, or something like that, and their bond had led Lori to distance herself from her family, which worried everyone who loved her. Charles could see the growing divide between them, and Lori's transformation freaked him out. He even started divorce proceedings and fought for custody of JJ because he was concerned for his safety, and it looked like Charles never got to see the end of that divorce as his life was cut short. Lori continued to get deeper into her beliefs after Charles's death. She started thinking that she was some kind of divine being and that the second coming of Christ was right around the corner. Lori and Chad believed Charles had to die for their supposed prophecy to come true. October 2019. The story takes a darker turn when Tammy Daybell, Chad's initial spouse, unexpectedly died in her sleep. Initially believed to be natural, later investigations would show something fishy was going on. The couple's crazy belief that JJ and Tylee had turned into zombies became a major focus of the investigation. As more evidence piled up, it became pretty obvious that Lori and Chad had played a role in the kids' deaths. But when Lori showed up in court, her behavior was a total shocker. Instead of taking things seriously, she couldn't stop laughing and acting like she didn't have a care in the world. It left many thinking she just didn't get how serious the charges against her were.
It's not the completion. It's not the completion of the crime. The crime is the agreement, and the case law on that is clear.
This only intensified suspicions about her role and intentions in Joshua and Tyler's disappearance. She was also accused of hindering the police, urging illegal actions, and defying the court by not following court orders. Number 5. Shondell Jackson.
At his sentencing today, 19-year-old Shondell Jackson was facing a mandatory life term for pulling the trigger, but hoped for a chance at parole.
On July 6, 2009, Nathan Potter, a 21-year-old senior from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, ran into Shondell and his buddy Derek Thomas while making his way to his apartment in River West, near the campus. What Nathan didn't know was that this unexpected encounter would change his life forever. Shondell and Derek had some wicked intentions in mind. They wanted to rob him. With a gun pointed at him, they demanded Nathan's money. But when he honestly responded that he didn't have any, that's when Shondell callously pulled the trigger, ending Nathan's life in an instant. Both wrongdoers faced the consequences of their actions. Shondell's trial attracted a lot of attention, mainly because of his disturbing lack of remorse. He frequently smirked and made rude gestures towards Nathan's grieving family, going as far as smiling at him on one occasion.
Jackson gestured to the Potter family several times, cursed at them, and as he was let out of court, our camera caught him smiling at the victim's family.
Now, during the trial, Nathan's mom, Denise, talked to the judge about how cold Shondell was acting. Nathan's dad, James Potter, also spoke up in court, hoping that Shondell's punishment would make sure that he never hurts another family again. He thought about how truly evil some people could be, and how important it is to keep society safe from individuals like Shondell. So, 19-year-old Shondell was convicted of first-degree murder and robbery. The judge saw him as a big danger, believing he would be violent again, and showing no regard for human life. So he got sentenced to life in prison without parole. The sentencing didn't happen without some drama, though. Shondell gave Nathan's family a challenging look, and it ended up causing a confrontation with the officers. The courtroom turned chaotic until they restrained and removed him, and both of the families were crying emotionally. Shondell's partner in offense, Derek, admitted his guilt and got 12 years in prison. The commotion in the courtroom and what happened afterward caught the attention of many people, with the news widely reporting on it. Number 4. Danta Wright.
In court after an admitted killer's caught on camera smiling during his sentencing. A judge, fed up with that casual attitude, stopped the proceedings in a surprising move.
October 4th, 2016, Jordan Klee, a super talented high school football player from Pioneer High School, tragically lost his life. It was the first murder in the town that year, and it sent shockwaves of sadness and disbelief throughout the whole community. The main person responsible for this horrible tragedy was a teenager named Danta Wright, along with 2 other people. Danta thought it was a good idea to rob Jordan, but things got really dark and twisted when Danta decided to shoot Jordan in the back of the head, causing Jordan to drop dead instantly. The community was desperate for answers and finally got him when Danta admitted to what he did. When it came time for him to face consequences in court, it was an emotional and heavy scene. Jordan's devastated mom just sat a few feet away from the person who took her son's life. She had to listen to him, in his own words, explain what happened on that awful day. Just try to imagine how tough this has to be. Danta told the whole story in such a cold and detached way. He didn't seem to have any genuine remorse when he talked about the shot that killed Jordan. And get this, he even smiled during the sentencing.
I just want to tell y'all I'll be home soon. R.I.P. Keon. I love my family.
His behavior didn't stop there. As his family read out a statement expressing their pain, Wright was seen laughing and wearing that smile. This deeply disturbed Judge David Schwartz of Washtenaw County. He remarked, "In my 23 years, I've always honored sentence agreements made between parties, but seeing you laugh and act as if this isn't serious makes me reconsider accepting this agreement. I might just send you to trial." Prosecutor straight up said that Wright was in a gang and used to brag about his wild deeds in his rap tunes. But hold up, Wright's attorney had a whole other take on it, like, "It's just a song, Your Honor. Lyrics don't always mirror real life." Number 3. Luis Bracamontes.
Prosecutor Rod Norgard describing in court today the shootout between Luis Bracamontes and an illegal immigrant.
October 24th, 2014. Deputy Danny Oliver went up to this sketchy car at a Motel 6 parking lot. What was supposed to be a routine check in the neighborhood of Sacramento turned into a total tragedy when Lewis, with his wife Janelle right next to him, straight up shot and killed Deputy Danny Oliver. But it didn't stop there. Luis and Janelle started going on a killing spree, stealing cars left and right. They even shot this poor guy like 5 times when they hijacked his car, almost killing him. They ended up in Auburn, a town near Sacramento where things got even worse. They stole another car and ended up getting into it with these 2 officers. They began exchanging bullets. Throughout this, one of the officers, Michael Davis, got separated. His partner went to look for him, eventually finding him and turning him over. Davis was clearly in pain, surrounded by blood. Unfortunately, Officer Michael Davis Jr. ended up losing his life. This was the 2nd officer that Luis killed that day. Luckily, his partner had survived. After the scene in an Auburn house, they finally caught Luis. A weight of fear lifted off of the whole town, you know. He was found guilty of killing Deputy Danny Oliver and Detective Michael Davis Jr. from Placer County. During the meeting where the families of the victims were talking about their feelings, Bracamontes straight up started causing chaos. He completely lost it when this former deputy Chuck Bardo was speaking and started yelling like crazy, facing multiple charges including the murder of 2 officers and multiple attempted murders. Luis's trial was a tense affair. His behavior in court was unsettling. He would frequently have outbursts, even boasting about his crimes against the officers.
And while in custody, the illegal immigrant from Mexico has continued to make threats.
We'll break up soon, and I will kill more.
Due to his behavior, Judge Steve White ordered Bracamontes to be taken out of the courtroom. After hearing all the statements from the affected families, the judge decided Bracamontes should receive the death penalty. This decision came after a jury had already recommended the death penalty for him the previous month. Following a short 4-hour discussion, Bracamontes had been officially declared guilty earlier in February. The happenings on that day in October, followed by the court trial, highlight the risks police officers encounter and how deeply communities feel these sad events. Number 2. Joseph Thomas McEnroe.
Convicted killer Joe McEnroe broke down on the stand as he described murdering his girlfriend's family incarnation. The outburst was the first time McEnroe showed any emotion in the more than 3-month trial.
December 24th, 2007. Michelle Kristen Anderson and Joseph Thomas McEnroe caused havoc. that started just a short distance from their trailer at Michelle's parents' house. Michelle confronted her father, Wayne, while Joseph kept Michelle's mom, Judy, occupied. Things quickly got out of hand. Michelle pointed a gun and shot her father, Wayne Anderson, but totally missed. And to make matters worse, her gun got stuck. Seeing the mess, Joseph stepped in and callously shot and killed Wayne. Judy Anderson, Wayne's wife, who was wrapping Christmas gifts, rushed in when she saw it all, only to get brutally shot twice by Joseph. So the question arises, how did things escalate to such a tragic point? Initially, they tried to portray a festive family holiday, having just shared their joyous plans to get married with Judy and Wayne. Now that evening, Michelle and Joseph were the first to arrive, armed with handguns they'd bought from a pawn shop months earlier. This wasn't a last-minute decision. Michelle had made a vow to herself and had convinced Joseph to agree that if her family didn't show her the respect she demanded, she would kill him. As the evening progressed, Michelle's parents lost their lives at the hands of the couple. And guess what? Michelle and Joseph then dragged their bodies outside, cleaned the house, and waited for Michelle's brother Scott and his family. When Scott and his family arrived, Michelle immediately shot him several times, killing Scott on the spot. Although wounded, Erica, Scott's wife, tried to protect their kids and call for help. However, Joseph took the phone, removed the batteries, and after a brief moment, shot and killed Erica. Then, tragically, he mercilessly killed their children. The cops arrived in response to Erica's call, but had to leave since the gate was shut. 2 days later, Judy's best friend and co-worker, Linda Thiel, checked on her when she didn't show up for work. Peeking inside the house, she saw a horrifying sight. She stumbled upon 6 dead bodies. The police were called immediately, and the area was swarming with officers, leaving the community in shock. Unexpectedly, Michelle and Joseph came back to the scene. They told the police an odd tale about heading to Las Vegas with plans to wed, only to change their minds. Then they made 2 separate trips back home, first to retrieve a wallet and then to grab some fruit. The cops decided to question them separately to further scrutinize their unusual story. However, when Detective Pavlovich started questioning Joseph, there was a change in his story. The detective sensed that something was bothering him. Bit by bit, a disturbing tale unfolded. Joseph confessed to everything that had happened. After the tragedy, they moved the bodies to a shed and cleaned up the whole scene. Soon after the confession, they were arrested and charged. Yet, amidst it all, Joseph McEnroe was seen laughing, unaware of the seriousness of the accusations against him.
McEnroe was scattered and struggled to make sense at times.
I'm sorry. I'm terrible.
2015, Joseph was found guilty of 6 murders and got a life sentence without parole. Michelle was convicted in 2016 and received the same punishment. They both avoided the death penalty. And number 1, Simeon Adams.
The now 18-year-old suspect, Simeon Adams, has pleaded guilty to murdering Trapezzano in April of 2014.
He is expected to serve more than 5 decades behind bars.
April 1st, 2014, 24-year-old computer programmer Nathan Trapezzano from Ivy Tech Community College, while taking an early morning stroll on West 16th Street in Indianapolis, was fatally gunned down by Simeon Adams in an attempt to rob him. Now, Nathan wasn't just any regular guy. Born in May 1989, Nathan hailed from Pennsylvania, where he excelled in both academics and extracurriculars as he grew. Upon completing a degree in classical studies, he embraced a career as a computer programmer at a local community college. He and his wife Jennifer had been married for approximately a year, and the couple eagerly expected their first child's arrival. However, that day, according to the police, Simeon Adams, a young boy of just 16, crossed paths with Nathan. Adams allegedly forced Nathan into the parking area of this Indianapolis strip club. It was in this unlikely and chilling place that Adams is said to have ruthlessly attacked Nathan using a firearm. The community was deeply shaken by a crime that was both shocking and puzzling. No one could understand why such a terrible thing happened, and the reasons behind it remained a mystery. Later, when Simeon Adams entered the courtroom, he wore a smile that didn't fit the serious crime he was accused of. This young teenager was facing charges for a series of wrongdoings over 2 weeks, the most serious of which was the tragic event involving Nathan. Yet, the homicide involving Nathan wasn't the first time Adams had been embroiled in such a dark affair. Just 2 days before this incident, whispers had already began circulating about Adams' possible involvement in the unfortunate passing of a man named Eric. When it came time for Adams to face the court, his demeanor was startling. Those present, including reporters and onlookers, were shocked by his casual attitude. Instead of showing remorse or even understanding for the seriousness of the charges against him, Adams was spotted laughing and cracking jokes. Now, this behavior raised everybody's eyebrows and made many question his grasp of the situation's severity. Adams' case was subsequently transferred to adult court, where more severe penalties loomed. Already serving a 55-year term for the 2014 crime of Nathan Trapezzano's life, Adam was facing an additional 12-year sentence for his involvement in Eric's death. He faced charges of aggravated violence and illegal possession of a weapon. During the trial, Jennifer disclosed her ongoing struggles with anxiety, sleeplessness, panic attacks, and the fear of leaving her home. In a poignant moment, she concluded her testimony by telling Adams, "I forgive you, Simeon. I forgive you now, because that's the sort of man Nathan was."